Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
We're confident that the project can and should be completed safely.
Mega cash flow, opening the financial floodgates on the Site C Dam project. Also,
and there has been some discussion of using the AstraZeneca as a separate program focused on essential workers.
AstraZeneca approved, what a third vaccine means for BC's immunization plan. And
Hi! Are you Jen? I am. Oh, you're tall. I didn't know that.
pandemic pairings, bridging the communication gap between young people
Welcome to my humble abode.
and isolated seniors.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening. Anita is on assignment tonight. Well, a BC mega project just got mega expensive. Still, after delays, safety concerns, and now a new price tag, the Site C Dam is going ahead. As Tanya Fletcher reports, the NDP government says pulling the plug on the project now doesn't make sense.
Construction moves along at a cost of a few $1 million per day at the biggest infrastructure project in BC history. The Site C Dam is nestled in the northeastern corner of BC, out of sight, perhaps, but certainly not out of mind. It's long been mired in controversy, the protests going back several years. After it broke ground in 2015, then Premier Christy Clark vowed to push the project past the point of no return.
I'm proud of what we're doing with Site C. I know we have a very different position on that from the opposition.
John Horgan happened to be in opposition at the time when this now infamous photo was snapped. Fast forward to 2017, now Premier, he begrudgingly gave it the green light to continue. But this past summer, foundational problems surfaced. It was unclear if they could be fixed and at what cost. The political calls mounted to cancel the project altogether. Instead, an independent review was done and the report's findings kept secret until today.
They confirmed that the project can proceed safely and will be built to the highest dam standards.
The price tag, though, has shot up more than 60%, but the Premier maintains the alternative was worse.
Canceling Site C when it was half done would have meant laying off 4,500 workers. It would have left us with a $10 billion debt and nothing to show for it.
Not enough to silence critics in the legislature.
An astonishingly terrible business case.
Nor opponents living near the site, including a First Nation that's taking the project to court.
From the very beginning of this whole process, we stated that we weren't opposed to the creation of the energy. What we're opposed to is the destruction of the valley.
Yet construction will continue full steam ahead until completion in 2025, a year behind schedule and way over budget. Tanya Fletcher, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, a much-needed boost today for Canada's COVID-19 vaccine supply chain. Approval of the AstraZeneca vaccine means a more encouraging outlook when it comes to getting your shot by the fall. David Cochran shows us how we are shifting gears after lagging behind other countries for months.
Supriya Sharma has the enviable task of this pandemic. She delivers the good news.
Today I'm here to talk to you about Health Canada's authorization of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine.
Health Canada has approved not just AstraZeneca, but a second version of the same vaccine called Covishield, made at the Serum Institute in India. The first 500,000 doses set to arrive next week.
Vaccines will keep arriving faster and faster as we head into the spring.
Like Moderna and Pfizer, these are two-dose vaccines, but unlike Moderna and Pfizer, they can be stored in a normal fridge, allowing vaccination programs to expand as supply ramps up.
I think it's the best news we've heard in a real long time.
That's great news. The federal government says they have some coming in the next little period, and that's excellent news as well.
With more than 20 million doses of AstraZeneca on order, this is a significant jolt to Canada's vaccine supply, and another may be coming. The single-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine has moved to the final stage of approval in the United States. Canada expects to make its own decision within a month. meaning a bleak winter of low supply could become a spring of steady doses.
Possibly could accelerate sort of our targets and our goals. But of course, we've seen that there can be bumps in the road.
If the bumps in the road aren't too severe, Canada is on track to vaccinate 16 million people by Canada Day, with the potential to do even more as other vaccines get approved. David Cochrane, CBC News, Ottawa.
And BC will be able to tap into the AstraZeneca vaccine supply, but it's not clear how much or when. Still, the health minister says a third vaccine has always been a part of our province's rollout plan.
Other vaccines, which look to be on the road to approval, will be integrated into our plan. If people read the plan, they can see it, the 4 phases of it. They can see that we were anticipating this and preparing for this if this were to happen. And there has been some discussion of using the AstraZeneca as a separate program focused on essential workers, and that's one of the things we'll look at and one of the questions we'll start to be addressing on Monday. But until we know when we're going to get it, we can't be too definitive, but hopefully we'll know very soon.
And as you heard, we're going to be hearing more from the province about BC's vaccination rollout Monday. Infectious disease expert Dr. Srinivas Murthy is going to be joining us on this program. And if there's a part of the province's plan you want to know more about, we want to hear from you. CBC BC is hosting a virtual town hall on March 10th to answer your COVID-19 vaccine questions. You can watch us on television, on CBC Gem, online, or tune in on CBC Radio. Find the details at cbc.ca/ourshot and send your questions about the vaccine and the rollout plan to bcasks@cbc.ca. And 12,540 people were vaccinated in our province yesterday. That's the highest daily number so far, and almost 5,700 of the shots were second doses. However, other numbers are trending in the wrong direction. They include another 7 deaths due to COVID-19. There are 521 new cases as the rolling average rises once again. Active cases are now at their highest since mid-January. 232 people are in hospital. 63 of those patients are in critical or intensive care. Well, all along we've heard about just how easily COVID-19 can spread. That's never been more apparent. A trivia night at a pub is now linked to more than 300 cases. As Joel Ballard reports tonight, it shows how an exposure can quickly balloon into a super spreader event.
We have tried all along here in BC to keep as much open as we can.
And that includes bars, but a recent pub event has led to over 300 people being infected.
Including a transmission in a daycare, transmission in a school, transmission in a number of other workplaces and in families.
Public health officials won't identify the business, but it did confirm it was a trivia night in the Fraser Health region. Earlier this month, Fraser Health added a trivia night at the St. James Well pub in Port Moody to its list of COVID-19 exposures. And yesterday, the pub apologized for hosting the event in a statement. We are heartbroken by the impact this has had on our workers, customers, and the community at large, and we're deeply sorry that we failed to honor your trust on this occasion. But an industry expert says in this case, it was one patron who wasn't sticking to their table.
Patrons have to follow the rules. Our bargain is to keep the rules in place and keep you safe, and yours when you come out is you're going to follow the rules as well.
That's the hardest part, he says, making sure everyone doesn't suffer because of the choices of one person.
They're public health orders. So we'll warn you once if you're not following the rules, and then generally we give you your check and ask you to leave.
Super spreader events like these are dangerous because they have the power to overwhelm the public health system.
It's a huge problem because the more contact people have, the more phone calls you have to make to do contact tracing. And the more cases there are, the more cases you have where you have to do contact tracing and they have more calls.
That's why it's so vital for officials to cut off those paths of transmission before they spiral out of control. One way to do that, Killeen says, is to test not only those with symptoms, but every single one of their contacts, regardless of whether they show signs. And it's something Fraser Health started this week to prevent future super spreader events. Joel Ballard, CBC News, Vancouver.
Threats against Dr. Bonnie Henry, a stabbing following a dispute in Nanaimo, a takedown of an anti-masker in Burnaby. If you've noticed more extreme reactions to pandemic fatigue, you're not alone. A psychologist confirms it's all right to feel exhausted, but violence, well, it takes it too far.
It is illegal to make threats in Canada against other people, and as adults, they are responsible for their behavior. They know the consequences of their behavior for harassing people or for threatening them, and yes, they should be charged.
She says the longer the pandemic drags on, the more people are likely to feel powerless and possibly act out in anger. Two Vancouver police officers are under investigation after they were spotted posing with a dead body. A passerby videoed the pair near the water in Stanley Park earlier this week. Our Dan Burrett joins us now live with more on this. So Dan, what happened here?
First, Mike, a warning for our viewers. Some people may find the video we're about to show you upsetting. It was 10 a.m. Wednesday. Videographer Zachary Ratcliffe was walking toward Third Beach. He says he heard some laughing and saw two officers near the rocks. He pulled out his phone and hit record. That blurred image is the body of a man lying on the sand. Camera pans and you see the two officers standing nearby. One walks to the edge of the water and poses for a photo. Ratcliffe later asked those officers if that was a dead person on the beach. They answer yes. He says he found it insensitive to see them laughing, let alone posing for photos. The Vancouver Police Department says the officers are now facing a Police Act investigation. The force says the video has been sent to the Office of the Police Complaint Commissioner, and the officer's status is also being reviewed. In a statement, the VPD says it does not condone and strictly bans officers taking photos without an authorized purpose. The department notes the man's death is not suspicious, and the officers were assigned to secure that site until the coroner arrived. CBC News has reached out several times to the Vancouver Police Union for comment, and we hope to hear back from them at some point. Mike.
All right, Dan, thanks very much. Dan Burrett with us live tonight. Well, several exhibits at the Vancouver Mural Festival have been vandalized. They were smashed, gouged, or knocked over. The exhibits were intended to stay up until the end of the month. Organizers say they're saddened by the vandalism and have started removing pieces that are beyond repair. Well, problems with an online ticketing company are hurting grassroots Canadian artists and arts organizers, including some here in BC. As Liam Britton with the CBC Impact team reports tonight, it's yet another hurdle for live performers in an already challenging year.
Old-time music with a newfangled problem. The Cowichan Valley Bluegrass Festival, seen here in happier times, has been on hold due to the pandemic.
Our festival it's very participatory. Everybody sits around and plays music. There's workshops with performers, and that's what makes it so special, and it's something that we really, really miss.
But the festival has another problem. For the June 2020 event, organizers sold $20,000 of passes through Brown Paper Tickets, a Seattle-based online box office. When pandemic restrictions forced the festival to cancel, organizers ordered a refund for fans.
They had a policy of refunding within 2 to 6 weeks, and we had contact with them saying that they were doing that, and then all of a sudden people weren't getting refunds.
10 months later, Remington says fans still haven't been paid, so the festival is paying them itself.
For a all-volunteer, community-run festival with no paid staff, $20,000 is a lot of money for us.
Brown Paper has long been popular with smaller grassroots artists and events for low fees, but for months it has been accused of failing to pay organizers collected ticket money and failing to refund fans for pandemic-canceled events. The situation has escalated to legal action in the U.S. Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson is suing the company for almost $7 million, claiming 80,000 people in the U.S. alone have been impacted by its conduct.
It's alchemy in motion on the highway.
Canadian artists are hurting too. Roots rocker Stephen Fearing says Brown Paper owes him $2,200 because fans declined a refund for a pandemic-canceled show almost a year ago.
That money's still sitting in an account somewhere in America, I believe, and I haven't seen it, and it's really frustrating. I could use the money for sure, but even more than that is the fact that all these people's generosity. I don't even think that they're aware of the fact that that money never got to me.
Now, despite several calls and emails, Brown Paper Tickets did not give CBC a response for this story. The last communication from the company seems to be a September statement on their website where they said they were trying to get people their money back but weren't prepared for the pandemic. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
A Surrey boat dealer is in hot water for allegedly scamming more than 100 customers.
A lot of people, a lot of the victims of this, it was quite emotional, and they went through a lot.
33 fraud-related and theft of property charges are on deck for 50-year-old Aaron Fell, the owner of Breakwater Marine. He allegedly defrauded a combined total of $1.8 million. The investigation began in June of 2019 as the RCMP seized boats and documents from the dealership. Well, after years of advocating for medically assisted death, one of Canada's first geriatricians has died on his own terms. Greg Rasmussen spoke to Dr. Ronald Bain shortly before he passed away.
At the age of 98, every step for Dr. Ronald Bain had become an excruciating effort.
Hey, Dad?
Let me give you a hand.
Yeah, okay.
Hours away from his own physician-assisted death, he was still speaking out on how best to face terminal illness.
I was very much in favor of medical-assisted death. And I said, that's certainly what I shall do. I shall not go into long-term care.
You would choose death over long-term care? Is that essentially?
Oh, yes, exactly.
He began practicing medicine in the 1940s, becoming one of Canada's first geriatricians, fighting a system, he said, neglected the elderly.
To waste money on these old people who are going to die anyway, politically it's not very attractive,
There we go.
He said while care has improved, the pandemic has revealed serious faults in long-term care.
And COVID came along and revealed exactly what I'd been saying all these years. And of course, then the politicians are wringing their hands. Oh, we didn't know anything about it, never heard. Oh, if we'd only known, we would have done. And they knew perfectly well, and they never did because it costs money.
Facing terminal cancer and other ailments, he arranged a doctor to help him end his life in his home today.
Thank God this is going to end. I'm not going to have to go through this every day. This aching of bones and crunching on my back as I sit up.
He described it as an empowering decision made alongside family, including daughter Lillian Bain.
Time with you is very, very precious to us,
A health policy professor.
I mean, you're sitting here talking to us, and you're still so vital. And we just want to pull all of those gifts of love and generosity out of you. And we just want to keep having that. So it's really hard. That's the dilemma. On the one hand, we want to keep you with us because we love you so much, and we know you love us, and we continue to grow and learn from you all the time, every day.
What's it like hearing that from Lillian?
No, I can appreciate that, but of course, I'm going to die anyway, It's not as if we're talking about cutting out 20 years of my life.
To him, an assisted death simply made sense.
Delighted. I'm looking forward to it.
Just hours later, Dr. Bain went ahead with his plan, leaving behind a powerful call to do more for Canada's seniors. Greg Rasmussen, CBC News, Victoria.
Meteorologist Johanna Wagstaffe joins us now. Our first check of the forecast. As you suggested, we did batten down those hatches last night, and the wind, it continued throughout the day, at least in some areas today.
That's right. Yes, still gusting at YVR at this hour to 60 plus kilometers per hour. We're no longer under the wind warning. But take a look at some of the pictures from earlier today. Some big winds and big surf across parts of Metro Vancouver, as you said, mainly towards the coast where the northwest was really getting hammered with both the winds and the high surf. Seeing gusts across the strait closer to 70, 80 kilometers per hour, and that's why BC Ferry had canceled most of its sailings today. In fact, at one point, all of its sailings. But look at that surf seeing kicked up around the seawall earlier today. So the winds, as I mentioned, continuing tonight, but take a look at the wind forecast. They will be dying down in the next couple of hours. You can see the blue over Tuason Ross and Richmond, those are the strongest winds we're getting at this hour. In the next couple of hours, we'll really see that die down. Much calmer through the overnight. Still looking at a brisk northwesterly wind to kick off your Saturday, with mainly clear skies, and with those cooler temperatures tonight with the clear skies and that northwesterly wind, could be looking at a little bit of a wind chill to kick off your Saturday. I'm thinking -7 is what it might feel like through the early morning hours. Look at this as I take you through Saturday morning. We get to keep the sunshine with those chilly temperatures until around mid-morning. Then we'll see the high clouds sneak in advance of Sunday's system. I think it'll roll in Saturday overnight, making for a soggy Sunday. I'll time that all out in a bigger detail coming up. But of course, we're all looking forward to the weekend, even though some of the days seem the same.
Yes, we are definitely looking forward to it.
Yes. This next story, among those, of course, suffering the most during the pandemic are the seniors, separated from their families. But it's also clear that many teenagers are also feeling a huge void.
Yeah, those two groups might seem like an unlikely pairing, but some people in Chilliwack didn't think so. And as Anita reports tonight, they've done something that has resulted in the forging of new friendships.
Well, that's me.
99 years of life experience. Myrtle McDonald is a former nurse who has spent much of her life teaching and helping vulnerable people around the world.
I've got to show you these.
But at home in Chilliwack, outside Vancouver, she still managed to be active in her community until COVID hit.
My grandchildren are all either in Saskatchewan or in Montreal or near there. And so I'm lonely for them.
On top of the pandemic, generational differences often keep seniors and youth apart.
One phrase, people. You answer in half sentences.
But when the opportunity came up to be paired with a local high school student for weekly chats, she was pleasantly surprised.
She takes her time and spends a whole hour with me, and it has filled an empty spot.
No text messages, no Zoom. They've developed a bond the old-fashioned way, through phone calls.
I'm looking forward to meeting her. I haven't seen her yet.
Until today.
Hi! Are you Jalen? I am! Oh, you're tall. I didn't know that.
A quick COVID-style meetup.
Do I look at all like you expected?
You look very young, I must say.
Oh.
Outside, 6 feet apart, masked, but just enough time for McDonald to poke a little fun at the 17-year-old.
Ripped jeans are, I suppose, typical for your age group.
At least they only have 2 rips.
The jokes say it all. The two get along famously.
I love and look forward to getting to talk to her each and every week.
I just found her more interested and less in a hurry than I expected.
Jaylin and Myrtle came together through a community group.
Talking to her has made me realize that it's not just that. I don't have to limit myself to doing one thing. I can do it all. I can travel. I can have a career.
A similar eye-opening experience for the other 47 youth connected with 53 seniors.
I have a 94-year-old man who's connected with a 16-year-old young man, and he's writing his memoir for him. And so, the 16-year-old is just saying it's amazing, all the stories.
The program is so popular, they've had to turn away applicants.
It'll be different once COVID's over, because then it won't be as much, need for the telephone for a lot of people. But definitely, we want to keep the intergenerational aspect going.
That'll be no problem for these two, whose friendship has only just begun. A bright spot in a dark pandemic. Anita Bath, CBC News, Chilliwack.
Love how she notices the ripped jeans. I mean, this is a great, it's a great initiative that's going on in Chilliwack for sure.
Oh, it's so cool. Yeah, we'll let Anita off on occasion if she comes back with stories like these, I think.
Absolutely. All right, just a quick reminder, you can also watch our newscasts live on CBC Gem. CBC Vancouver is also on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Well, we've heard what the approval of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine will mean for BC. Coming up, answering the lingering questions about its efficacy. And at 6:23, thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream tonight. Well, people in Labrador are challenging themselves and their pets to stay active right now, even amid winter weather and pandemic restrictions. The Let's Get Moving Challenge invites residents to collectively walk enough steps to cross the entire country all the way to BC. Video producer Daryl Din put together this look at their progress.
We thought about this idea in January. We have improved our trails here in Labrador West, and they were just so lovely that we wanted people to take part in it. And it just wrapped around our February Heart Health Month, where we could actually say to people, okay, get out, take part, participate, get out to those trails and have a look at them. And it certainly went very well. So basically all we had was people to submit their kilometers each day. We just wanted people to get up, get active, get busy, and keep their mind fresh every day. It really certainly helps to make you feel better when you do those things.
We've been doing some skiing, cross country, and lots of walking on the trails, and even some inter-town running.
And how many kilometers do you think you got under your belt in February?
Oh, I would say easy over 100 kilometers.
At the beginning, our kilometers were around 300 to 400 during those weeks. And then to the middle of the month when we started really getting that out there and people knowing about the trails. And the weather certainly has cooperated here in Labrador West. We've had beautiful weather. So the numbers went from 300 to 400 kilometers a day to 5, 6, 7, and 8. And now we're up to 900 kilometers a day. So it's wonderful participation.
And with the lockdown 5, do you think that helped your numbers, getting everyone out since they had nothing else to do?
Absolutely, and I think just, when people were on the trail, just noticing how beautiful it was, it just encouraged them to continue coming out. And now we're seeing not just one person, but like their family is coming with them, which is lovely to see. It's not just one or, it's everybody. It's wonderful. We actually started out with just going from Labrador West out to BC, which was wonderful. We thought that was great, and we actually worked hand in hand with Wabash, and so we decided that we would go that far, and we thought that would be wonderful. Well, we reached that goal quite easily by the middle of the month, so we had to come back.
Did you make that goal?
Oh my goodness, with ease. We are ecstatic we made it. I could have jumped up and down when I came into work and figured it out. We've made it and we've exceeded it. We did fabulous. Thank you to the community for participating. We are so proud of our community.
She's like, it's cold.
And stay with us. Coming up in just a couple of seconds, a deeper look at the effectiveness of the newly approved AstraZeneca vaccine. Until then, have a look at the view of, there's the moon tonight as we head into the weekend on the south coast of Vancouver. A newly approved vaccine means new questions such as how well does it work and who should get it. Tonight, Vic Adopia breaks down what we know about the AstraZeneca shot.
In South Korea, the first shots of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine went into arms today. But as in other outlier countries like France, not in anyone over 65, because the supporting clinical trials didn't include enough seniors. So Health Canada had to ask the question.
Would the benefits of getting the vaccine versus not getting the vaccine, could the benefits outweigh the risk? And the answer to that was yes.
At the start of the pandemic, Oxford AstraZeneca was considered the front-runner vaccine. Unlike Pfizer and Moderna, it uses a modified virus to trigger an immune response. But problems with its clinical trials created delays, leading to questions about dosing and how effective it is, especially in seniors.
I have no doubt whatsoever that this will work perfectly well in older people, and I think most people with any experience in vaccine science would say the same thing.
Indeed, in about 50 countries, the vaccine has already gone into millions of arms, many of those elderly. And the vaccine's 62% effectiveness in clinical trials is turning out to be higher in real-world use. Still, in a controversial move, South Africa suspended its rollout because of the new variant that emerged there. Preliminary results show the vaccine wasn't very effective at stopping people from getting mild or moderate symptoms, but that may not be the best measure of success.
the best outcome, it will be to prevent serious complications from the infection. So that's why if a vaccine can do that, I think it's fulfilling its main purpose.
AstraZeneca is already working on reformulating its vaccine to address variants, but that'll likely be in later booster shots, so that shouldn't slow down the vaccine's rollout. Vic Adopia, CBC News, Toronto.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle made an appearance on a late-night talk show last night, but as Margaret Evans reports, some are questioning if they're stealing the limelight from their relatives across the Atlantic, as Prince Philip remains in hospital.
There he is. There's Hollywood royalty, albeit imported in the form of James Corden, and then there's real royalty.
Just pay the fare and hop on up, okay? You know us royals, we don't carry cash.
This is what it looks like when they mix. New Californian Prince Harry getting his own tour of Los Angeles on a double-decker bus with the late-night talk show host pointing out celebrity homes. Royal watchers say it was a delight to see the old Harry back, mischievous, lighthearted, and sending himself up.
I certainly watched it and thought, well, you know, this really does knock all those suggestions that Harry is unhappy on the head.
Oh, this is a story all about how man...
But it's the timing of the release that's raising some eyebrows in the United Kingdom. Critics accusing Prince Harry of upstaging his grandmother, the Queen, just as she made one of her own rare appearances to jolly up a nation in the midst of another national lockdown, this time urging people to get vaccinated for the collective good.
It is obviously difficult for people to, if they've never had a vaccine, because they ought to think about other people rather than themselves.
The Corden interview was recorded before last week's announcement that Harry and his wife Meghan Markle will not return to the UK as working royals, and before his 99-year-old grandfather Prince Philip was admitted to hospital with an infection where he still remains.
My grandfather, instead of pressing leave meeting, yes, he just goes.
But it also comes ahead of another celebrity interview soon to be released, this time by Oprah Winfrey, like Corden, a guest at Harry and Meghan's wedding.
The feeling over here is that Harry and Meghan can sometimes be a bit tone deaf.
The Winfrey interview is due to air on March 7th, the same day the Queen is due to deliver her message to the Commonwealth. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
A damning report from U.S. intelligence is tying the 2018 killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi to the Saudi government. As Stephen D'Souza reports, it was long alleged the Saudi crown prince approved Khashoggi's murder.
Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi was last seen entering the Saudi embassy in Istanbul in 2018. Today, the Biden administration released a 4-page report confirming what many believed about his death. We assess that Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman approved an operation in Istanbul, Turkey, to capture or kill Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
This practice, this conduct, whether it's by Saudi Arabia or anyone else, is totally unacceptable.
Khashoggi was a prominent voice for reform in Saudi Arabia who wrote for the Washington Post. His friends hope the report, long withheld by the Trump administration, will spark action.
It's just the beginning, it's the first step for the accountability.
After the report's release today, the Biden team sanctioned a former Saudi intelligence chief and banned 76 Saudi nationals, bringing in new restrictions for anyone working for a foreign government to silence dissidents abroad.
We were going to, in fact, make them pay the price.
Despite promises of tough action and a departure from the cozy relationship between the prince and the Trump administration, activists questioned why bin Salman, known as MBS, wasn't himself sanctioned today.
MBS should not be an exception to the rule of law. He's part of the team. He should be sanctioned. He should be not allowed to travel.
The State Department defended the decision, saying the relationship with the complicated Middle East ally is bigger than one person.
What we've done by the actions that we've taken is really not to rupture the relationship, but to recalibrate it, to be more in line with our interests and our values.
Friends of Khashoggi say no matter what happens next, his mission to speak freely and seek democratic reforms in Saudi Arabia should not be forgotten. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
Don't be afraid to voice who you are and voice what you've gone through, because we're always here to listen.
Showing they care. Just ahead, BIPOC students shared their experiences with classmates to promote a more inclusive future.
You have questions about the vaccine, and we want to hear from you. Join us March 3rd for community conversations on vaccine rollout in Indigenous and diverse communities. For more information, head to cbc.ca/ourshot.
The last time snowboarder Ross Rebagliati was at a party in Whistler, BC, he says he inhaled secondhand marijuana smoke. That was before Nagano, before he won, lost, then won back his Olympic gold medal. Well, tonight, Rebagliati returned to Whistler and another party. Here's Terry Malefsky on the journey home.
So what if he joked about wearing a gas mask around his pot-smoking friends? There were thousands of friends and no gas masks when Ross Rebagliati returned in triumph to Whistler.
You guys rule!
If he plays his cards right, he could be rich as well as happy. Sponsors are said to be all the more interested in him after the worldwide publicity over that tiny trace of marijuana in his system.
Well, you've had quite a week.
It won't hurt his recognition factor that he stopped in Hollywood on the way home and handled the media big time with aplomb.
They told me it was marijuana, and I was just like, holy smokes, this isn't good. And
holy smokes?
Yeah.
But long before Rebagliati got to hug his mother at Vancouver Airport, he may have figured out there's no glittering future in being a poster boy for the pot lobby. So he's staying away from the politics of marijuana.
You know, as far as the legal debate, whether or not it should be legalized or not, I think that's up to the politicians and the lawmakers of Canada, and I'm not going to get involved.
Yes, but would he smoke pot again?
No.
It was 24 hours later that Rebagliati began his umpteenth news conference by confessing that eventually even a hero starts to sag.
I haven't slept at all, actually, in the last 8 days. I'm drinking a lot of water because of the adrenaline.
Even so, he's decided to sign up with IMG, the big sports management agency, and he has no problem with questions about all the offers he's getting.
What are your expectations realistically in terms of making money on this?
I don't see a problem.
His star power is obviously appreciated by the town of Whistler, which depends utterly on tourism and feels that Rebagliati has put this resort on the map. Ross Rebagliati, of course, has already done a lot for Whistler in terms of free publicity. Just imagine what it's worth to have Jay Leno ask, as he did last night, whether Whistler is like Aspen, and get the reply, yes, but better. You can't buy advertising like that. Terry Malefsky, CBC News, Whistler, BC.
Some of the stories we're following tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
We're confident that the project can and should be completed safely. So today I am confirming that the Site C Clean Energy Project will be completed.
The NDP government is forging ahead with the Site C Dam mega project with a new price tag, $16 billion, nearly double what was originally approved. The Premier says stopping the project would cost more than $10 billion, and he says experts have concluded the project is safe.
If people read the plan, they can see it, the 4 phases of it. They can see that we were anticipating this and preparing for this if this were to happen. And there has been some discussion of using the AstraZeneca as a separate program focused on essential workers.
Health Canada has approved the COVID-19 vaccine from AstraZeneca. Canada has so far secured access to 20 million doses, but it's unclear right now how much of it BC will get and when. And 12,540 COVID-19 vaccine shots were delivered in BC yesterday. That's the highest number so far, the highest daily number. There are 521 new cases of the virus, and active cases have reached their highest number in 6 weeks, and 7 more people have died. Well, thousands of students recently took part in a virtual Black History Month youth conference. It gave students who are BIPOC a chance to share their lived experiences. As you'll see, the themes of fatigue, validation, and hope were front and center.
One thing that really surprised me was how similar people's experiences were. Like people who were Black, Indigenous, or brown, we all kind of faced similar things, which was something I wasn't really expecting to hear about.
What I spoke about in the conference was my friend group. Like when someone touches my hair and doesn't ask or say anything, it can be really disrespectful. My name is Michaela Williams. I'm in grade 11 and I go to Burnaby South Secondary School.
My topic was kind of talking about education and being a colored or racialized student. I just kind of thought that I would just be treated like everybody else. But when I did well, it was very confusing to me why everyone was so shocked and so surprised, because I didn't really think of myself as different. My name is Liv Muirkirk. I'm from the Stolo Nation, and I'm a grade 11 student at Burnaby South Secondary.
I remember being a student of color growing up in the late 70s and 1980s, and it was really hard. It was really difficult, and people weren't talking about race or racism. People didn't deal with it. I didn't see myself in my schools, in the faculty, and the administration, in the curriculum. Planning committee, there's 5 or 6 of us in 3 different districts, and we've already started, so we have to start thinking. I've been doing anti-racism work for 13, 14 years, and it's been a challenge over the years to get people to understand the need for such groups, because people aren't having those hard conversations. It makes people feel uncomfortable.
My experience, and especially now with the Black Lives Matter movement and the horrible events of George Floyd, I've had a lot of students come to me kind of making jokes of the movement, putting up the black fist and then laughing, like making a lot of jokes that just are really inappropriate.
What was your reaction to that, like when you would experience it?
I tried my best to educate them and kind of warn them like it was a really important movement, especially for my people and my culture.
Something I experienced a lot was that everyone expects you to know everything about your culture. Everyone expects you to know everything from, as an Indigenous person, from like plants to residential schools, and they kind of just assume that you know everything. But that's just not true, because we're still learning about our own cultures too. But like just meeting all of the people and the panelists was so cool, because we all had very similar experiences, and just finally feeling like we had people that we could relate to.
When I see these young students having the courage and just the resilience to share their lived stories that are pretty heavy and hurtful, that brings me hope.
And of course this work is going to go past Black History Month, because we're going to keep this work going and try our hardest to make a big change.
In the face of certain danger, a Toronto nanny risked herself to save the children in her care. Just ahead, the battle she's now facing to recover. And at 6:43, there's a live look from the SS Sicamous at Penticton tonight, Okanagan Lake, right in the middle of your screen there on the beach. And a windy day for much of the south coast. Ferry service between the island and mainland canceled until tomorrow. But the weekend is here. So is Johanna. Her forecast next.
I'm Jeremy Ratt. I'm half Indigenous and half white. Pieces is an all-new CBC British Columbia original podcast. This is a story of being stuck between two worlds, and not really fitting in with either of them.
So because I don't have darker skin or long brown hair, that therefore I was not Indigenous.
You don't have to be a residential school survivor yourself to be traumatized by residential school.
Pieces. Listen to it now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, a video of a lynx pouncing on some ducks in a Kamloops park is ruffling the feathers of some BC conservation groups.
Yeah, it's prompting warnings from WildSafe BC to not leave food out for wild animals. It makes them more vulnerable to predators. Yeah, we'll just let the video speak for itself.
Yeah, exactly. I jumped.
Yeah.
Good warning
well,
tonight.
the warning, yes, warnings heeded for sure. All right, the weekend is here, Joe. Yay!
I was going to say that. Yeah. It's Friday, and we've got a pretty decent forecast as we head into the start of the weekend. As I mentioned earlier, take a look at the current temperatures right now. We are dropping tonight. So heads up for a chillier start to Saturday. 6 right now at YVR, but those clear skies tonight and a brisk northwesterly wind. Well, it does line up with a sunny start to the weekend. So if you're headed out to take advantage, I wanted to show you more on that. If you're headed out to take advantage of the sunshine, you be prepared for brisk winds. And as I show you the current forecast tomorrow across the province, just wanted to mention that Avalanche Canada still has that avalanche warning for the Rockies, both north and south through the weekend. Prince George looking at a few flurries tomorrow. We'll see those moving in tonight. McBride also getting those flurries, and a 3 in through Cranbrook with increasing clouds. Same story in through the southern interior. We're sort of sitting in between systems for the start of Saturday. Prince Rupert, Haida Gwaii, you're going to get those showers nice and early tomorrow morning. Winds for you picking up in around the noon hour. So big picture, you can see that bit of a break through Saturday mid-morning, just pausing you at 10 a.m. You can see most of the south sort of sitting right on that line between the cloud deck moving in from the northwest. And the showers will follow suit, I think filling in for Metro Vancouver overnight. We do get by with a dry Saturday, but be prepared to wake up Sunday with showers that will continue through the day. At this point, just a 10 or so millimeter story for Metro Vancouver. Fresh snow for the mountains, though. Monday looks like we get another surge of moisture. Temperatures are still fairly mild for this time of the year, but our seasonals are creeping upwards. Our 30-year average for Vancouver for afternoon highs is around 9 degrees. So we're getting up there, and we're going to see that seasonal as we head into early next week. A 5 tomorrow, so still on the chilly side again as we get through our -2 morning, increasing cloud through the day, as I mentioned. Bit of a washout for Sunday. Maybe some gusty winds, but nothing like what we saw today. Hoping for a bit of a clear out on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. Not too soggy, but I'll keep my eye on that for some breaks. Now, Mike, this next story possibly hits a little close to home with my little one in nanny care. But this week, a nanny in Toronto made a split-second decision to risk her life for saving the children in her care.
Now, Magda Gabrisalas shows us how thousands of people are stepping up to help her recover.
She's been called a hero nanny. Now Jillian Mendoza's family is praying for her quick recovery from far away.
Although she's in a lot of pain, she wanted us to know that she's doing good. She's a fighter, really.
The Toronto nanny was pushing 2 children in a stroller when she was struck by this vehicle that jumped the curb Wednesday. Mendoza is reported to have shoved the stroller out of the way. Police say the children had minor scratches and bumps. However, Mendoza, who was pinned between the car and the wall, had to be taken to a trauma center. She's had several operations, but was able to speak to her loved ones on the phone, including her daughter, who lives in the Philippines.
Her daughter already knows what happened to her, but she doesn't know the gravity of her situation.
I just saw the young woman.
Dr. Gary Klein's dental office is just steps away from where the accident took place. He rushed over to help and stop the bleeding.
I was just trying to reassure her that help was on the way. We wish her a speedy recovery, and it's just so unfortunate how things were.
While she recovers, help keeps coming. A GoFundMe account set up by a friend has raised more than $100,000. The friend behind the account says Mendoza financially supports her family from a distance.
She's so thankful to everyone that's been helping her regarding her GoFundMe page and for the love and support.
Police say the investigation into the cause of the crash is ongoing. Magda Gabrisalas, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, you can file the story we'll have after the break under equipment that wouldn't be office approved. Still to come, what this cabinet is now capable of may just blow you away.
I just love the design of them. I love the structure of them. I look up hotels, I look up automobiles, I look up theaters, introductory pages, tourist pages. For a person that's interested in the visual, the yellow pages are always more interesting. An ostrich feather specialist. My name is Fred Meandro, and I'm here because I collect old Toronto telephone books.
How many phone books do you have?
I have quite a few. I have almost 50 on Toronto, covering from the Victorian to the current ones, all the decades of the 20th century.
I've met a lot of collectors, but never a collector of phone books. Is this a pretty rare type of collection?
Yes, it is. I don't think there's too many people out there that do this, but I've been doing this since I was a teenager. It all started at the Surrey Public Library when I worked there as a student, and they were tossing the old ones out. I asked if I could have them. They said I could, so I took them home, and then it just kind of grew from there. Look at this one. This one is the oldest I have. It's from 1891. It has a couple of pages of ads. It's very fragile, and I ended up paying quite a bit of money for it.
How much?
It was $450 in 1997. And I also have one here that is from June of 1912. There's a name here, Arthur Puchin. He lived at 599 Jarvis Street, and he was known to have survived the Titanic sinking. This is from 1932, and it has a map of Ontario. It has some interesting taxi ads. The taxis seem to have pages at the front where they had full pages.
And so what is it that fascinates you about phone books?
For me, I've always been interested in urban studies and cities and big cities, and the telephone directories through the decades reflected the growth and development of the city. I have had many people over the years ask me to look up the old telephone books to look for family addresses. They were interested in finding out the old numbers, like the old phone numbers. Even as a kid, when we used to get ours every year, I would look through it and to see how much it grew and how many more pages there were in it. And it's just, that's how I was, me. My parents couldn't understand it.
There's value in them as just historical documents. As a researcher, we use phone books and old city directories, which are a very similar type of a product, almost on a daily basis. Sometimes there'll be address information published there. You can get a sense of where people lived. You can get a sense of what businesses were in operation.
But I guess eventually I will have to sell them. I cannot keep them forever. Nobody in my family really wants them. If somebody wants these, I just want them to have the passion for enjoying them and treating them well, like I did.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
Subscribe now to Pieces, CBC BC's new original podcast. Host Jeremy Ratt goes on a journey of self-discovery as he explores his Indigenous roots. Learn more at cbc.ca/pieces. And the COVID-19 vaccine is coming. Do you have questions or concerns? On March 3rd, join us for community conversations and get involved in the discussion. Sign up at cbc.ca/ourshot.
The long, cold Canadian winter tends to keep a lot of us indoors. That's even truer this winter because of COVID-19 restrictions, of course.
Yes, but some folks are putting their downtime to interesting new uses. Our colleagues in Manitoba found someone who has come up with an invention that's so hot, we're going to file it under S for smoking.
Still ticking. We own a business that's been shut down because of COVID for far too long, and yeah, I had nothing else to do. I was going a little crazy, and I mean, who doesn't like some smoked meat in the winter? That top one has the sun hitting it nice. So I thought, you know what, why not build a smoker out of nothing? So went to the local MCC, found a filing cabinet for 20 bucks, put some casters on it with some piping and ductwork for a basement, and put it all together, some trial and error, cut some holes in it, and wasn't expecting it to work, and it did. So all in, about 35 bucks. Kind of a win. So in between 130 and 140 is what we're looking at for venison. How this works is down in the bottom drawers we have our firebox. Firebox, obviously coals, your wood, kind of whatever kind of wood you're using, cherry, pick your hardwood, throw it in there with the coals. Heat rises, of course, we all know that. So when the heat rises, second drawer, I have no water in here, but we just cut a hole in it just to allow the heat to rise a little bit quicker. We can also put a pan of water and onions and that kind of stuff, and it's called a water pan, water drawer. Not using it today. And then third and fourth shelves are your smoking. So we got trays in here. We have holes drilled in the bottom to allow the smoke and the heat to rise. Got some baked potatoes on here, as well as some venison going on right now. And then the fourth drawer would again just be another meat locker. so you can run multiple meats kind of at a time. I have other grates that we put in there. And yeah, and then so as it's going, heat rises, smoke rises, and then pulls from the top exhaust to kind of expel that smoke. Yeah, COVID's making us stay home. Yeah, COVID's stopping us from going out and seeing people. But there are still things that you can find that you can do within COVID.
It's genius, really.
It's true. And I had no idea how truly brilliant your pun was, filing under S for smoking, until I actually saw the story. That's a filing system I can get behind.
Well, exactly. Why not? And again, why do these newscasts always leave me ravenous? Absolutely starving tonight. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there's a remedy for that, and I can solve it within, I don't know, half an hour or so.
Yep.
There we
Let's go do it.
Have a good weekend, Joe. Thanks very much.
You
can always watch our newscasts online, cbc.ca/BC. Mr. Dan Burritt is here after the National at 11. Have a great weekend.
Good night.